Hi everyone, I'm Olga and this is Primelang.
Hi everyone, I'm Jana, and today we'd like to talk about something very important, a very, very important issue, which is grammar. We want to talk about why, whether we need to study it, and if yes or not, why.
Right, so I think there exists this very common misconception that grammar is useless, it's boring, and it's basically a waste of time. We don't need to learn it, and we can speak a language without dealing with this awful, disgusting thing, the grammar.
Right, and I can share, from my personal experience. A lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, I want to learn the language for traveling or for my personal use. So I don't need to study grammar. I just want to learn to speak and to understand people." Because another misconception that people have is that grammar is something advanced and you need to study if you want to be a professional a professional in languages. And it's true that there are some layers of grammar, of very, very advanced grammar, that only professionals will pay attention to. But in fact, the reality is that even at the very beginning level, at the very start, you already need grammar, and to say even the most basic sentences, and to ask the most basic questions when you're traveling, for example. And Olga, what about you? Have you had any such experiences? And how do you deal with people like this? How do you respond? Do you I don't know. Do you lecture them on the importance of grammar? What do you do? Just tell me. How do you
Right, so I
persuade them?
have these situations quite often, and I think a funny thing about them is that after a couple of lessons, these people often start asking questions. But can you explain why? Why is there an S at the end of this verb? Why is this structured like this? And no, I never lecture them. I think it's
Yeah, it's
useless.
useless.
We just start working, yes, and then I know that they will come to this realization sooner or later. So we do a bit of grammar. I never tell them, okay, so now we are going to do grammar.
Right, right. This is
I never
the worst
notice it. Yeah.
thing.
So
Yeah.
when they ask this question why, I usually tell them so. But that's grammar. That's what you wanted not to study. We wanted to
Hmm.
avoid. Now you want to understand why. And I think yes. So mostly we study grammar to understand why, to see how the language works, and instead of just having a bunch of disconnected constructions which we can use on their own, we get the whole picture, and we learn to use the language. So we become much more flexible, and we can say anything that we need, even at a very basic initial level.
Hmm. Oh, also, you see, when you're learning just words, like a lot of people say, I just want to learn words and set expressions. If you talk about words, these are small separate units. But you see, they have to be connected. And in order to make even a very simple sentence, you have to learn how to connect these words, and you have to learn certain patterns. It's true that for many people, grammar, again, I want to come back to something I was saying, and I forgot to finish my idea. To many people, grammar is big pages of very boring rules and exercises that are mostly irrelevant to they are disconnected from the real life. And that's why the people say, oh no, thank you, I don't really want to do that. But in fact, grammar is very connected to the real life, because it teaches you how to use the words that you've learned, how to put them in a sentence, how to express what you think. And even as we are speaking now, believe me, we're using a lot of grammar right now. And but of course, we're not defining it, thank God. Well, and anyway, so Olga, what do you think is a good idea to help people feel less worried about having to learn grammar, less frustrated with the very fact that they have to learn it? How do you help them feel more comfortable with that?
Yes, so I think a very basic and simple trick is not to speak about it as about learning grammar, especially at the beginning. So the tutor or you yourself can just say that you are learning some structure, some constructions, maybe some patterns. So you can call it whatever you like. It doesn't have to be learning grammar, and I think it can help you a lot. So it will all of a sudden seem much less boring and terrifying. And what I personally do when we study grammar is trying to connect it to a real language, to speaking. Yes, so after reviewing some construction and maybe doing a couple of exercises, I try to create a situation in speaking where I will be asking such questions, such questions that the student will have to reply using the active grammar. And so we will be talking about the student themselves, and so basically it will be a real life situation where they have to say something about themselves, about their own experience using the active grammar.
Right. And we talked
what about you?
Sorry, I'm gonna just sort of interject that we talked about it briefly when we were discussing vocabulary. We mentioned that it's the best way to learn new vocabulary is to personalize it, to talk about your personal life. The same goes for grammar, because if you do some activity which has something to do with you personally using this grammar, trust me, you're going to feel the difference. And yes, I do the same with my students, and I ask them some questions, and they try to answer using the new grammar. And this is what I do when I'm learning German, because I do a lot of exercises at home, and they are just regular textbook exercises. But then I come to to my lesson with the teacher, and usually we don't check exercises unless I have some questions, like if I don't understand something, because I have answer key, and at home when I'm doing them, I can check. And so if I don't have any questions, what's the point in redoing these exercises again? And so instead, what we do with my teacher, she asks me different questions, where I could use where she's using maybe this grammar, and in response I also have to use it, and it really does help. I think it's really one of the most effective methods, in my opinion, of feeling better about grammar, because it really doesn't become as boring as it might be if you're just learning rules and doing exercises.
Right. And by the way, another thing that I sometimes do is trying to find examples in real life. So if, for example, we've been studying the present perfect or the present perfect continuous, I try to find some video clip. So it can be a bit from some series or maybe some video lesson, some video
or some movie, anything really.
Yeah, so adapted video for a certain level. And I ask my students to try and find as many uses of this tense as possible, to write them out, and then we can analyze that. So I think because very often students don't really believe that this grammar that looks so complicated is used very widely in real life. So this is, I think, a very common question, but do they really use it? Do they really say it like this? Because it seems so difficult to put it all together in your head and to pronounce it. People can't really believe that the natives will be doing it all the time. So that's how I try to show them that, yes, in fact, they use it all the time, and you can hear it in most popular TV series and so on.
Right. And that's actually very convincing for a lot of people, because they want to, like, they especially if they hear it in some movie that they know, and they're like, oh my God, he says this, and they're like, oh, okay, I have to use this to myself. And
yes, and it's also very easy to remember when you hear it in a funny or emotional movie that you watch. It kind of sticks in your head, and you go around and repeat it all the time. And I think that's how I've learned lots of constructions myself, and I encourage all the language learners to do that.
And another thing I think that you can do to help yourself feel better about grammar is, imagine that you are putting together a puzzle. For example, like I said earlier, vocabulary is separate units, and grammar is the way you can connect these units. And so you can imagine taking these words and some, and applying it to the new pattern that you're learning. And it's like a puzzle, you're putting together, you're figuring out, okay, how do I make this sentence? How does this work? For instance, when I'm learning German, it's not easy for me because there are different patterns of word order for different situations. And it does feel sometimes frustrating because I have trouble remembering them at the beginning, and they seem so confusing. And I remember I was just angry, but now, well, not all, but some of these patterns really come naturally to me. When I'm speaking to my teacher, I'm not even paying attention anymore. But I did feel frustrated at times, and yet it feels so much fun to construct this sentence. And when you are figuring out what goes where, what happens if you change this word, for example, maybe sometimes the accent or whatever, the emphasis in the sentence shifts and something. And so that's a lot of fun figuring out how it works, playing with different patterns. So if you like puzzles, this grammar could be another one for you.
Right, and I think those people who enjoy math, who enjoy formulas and logic, should really appreciate grammar as well. So maybe they just don't know it, they can't see it, but so that's why I am trying to draw your attention to this fact. If you are one of these people, it's very similar to that. So grammar is the part of the language where you will get all the logic, where so these patterns, they are really like formulas, and they are very beautiful. So when you start to see it, you can't help but enjoy this beauty. It's amazing. So it's for me, it's one of the best parts of learning the language, really. So I always look forward to discovering new rules, new grammar, and understanding how this language works. So
just so you, if you're worried like me, when I hear the word math, I begin to, kind of panic a little bit. I don't like math, and I don't remember any formulas. And but I do like grammar. It is fun, and so if you don't like math, you can still like grammar. So don't worry about it. So anyway.
Yeah. So anybody can like grammar. That's
right.
all.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Don't let us confuse you. Grammar can be fun. Just make sure you try to look at its fun sides.
So try to stop hating it, stop avoiding it, accept the fact that you will not get by without learning it anyway, and try to enjoy it as much as possible.
Right. So we hope you found this video helpful, and if you have, drop us a comment, by the way. Let us know about what you think about grammar, what experiences you've had of learning it, and we'll just be really happy to hear from you. Make sure to give us the thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel. See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.